All right, so today we're going to dive into something pretty amazing.
Yeah,
South Indian temples.
really fascinating stuff.
Now, these aren't just any old buildings, right?
Hmm.
We're talking about structures that are deeply woven into the very fabric of South Indian society.
Absolutely. And our sources really drive that point home. I mean, you look at their history, their cultural significance, the religion, everything is tied up in these temples.
It's like they're living, breathing testaments to the history and the culture.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
They're like history etched in stone.
Exactly. And speaking of history, our material points to some seriously ancient roots. Like we're talking connections to the Dravidian civilization.
Right.
So that's going way back in. And when we talk about these early connections, what's like the key takeaway about the origins of these temples? Where did it all begin?
Well, one thing that really jumps out from the sources is the continuity. You see these core architectural principles and even some of the deities they were worshiping back then. They have these direct lineages that you can trace all the way back to pre-Hindu Dravidian traditions.
Wow.
It suggests that there's a really deep indigenous influence, maybe even more so than we typically give credit for.
That's fascinating. So we're talking about a foundation that goes even deeper than just those later religious developments.
Exactly. It's all layered, you know.
Right. And our sources also hint at this incredible evolution from those early beginnings to the magnificent structures that we see today.
Yeah.
It seems like we'll be diving deeper into specific temples and rituals in future deep dives.
Oh, absolutely. There's so much to unpack. We're just laying the groundwork here, giving everyone a taste of the complexity and the richness that we'll be exploring later. You know, it's like learning the alphabet before you can read.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
So for our listeners tuning in, what's the big picture to grasp right now about these temples?
The main thing to remember is that these South Indian temples are way more than just impressive buildings. They're vital cultural and spiritual centers, and they have this incredibly deep connection to history going all the way back to that Dravidian era.
We're just scratching the surface here, folks, giving you a glimpse into a world that's just incredibly vast and intricate.
And it raises a big question. As we go deeper, think about this. These temples have stood for centuries. They've seen empires rise and fall. They've witnessed so much change. How have they managed to remain such a central and revered part of South Indian life for so long? What's their secret?
That's a powerful question to consider. So the recap, we've begun our exploration of South Indian temples. We've touched on their significance, their ancient Dravidian roots.
Right.
And we've hinted at the amazing details that await us in future deep dives, where we'll uncover more about their architecture, the rituals, and the vibrant culture that surrounds them.
If you take a step back and think about it on a larger scale, you know, to truly understand a civilization, you often have to look at its most prominent landmarks, both physical and spiritual. These temples aren't just places of worship, they're like time capsules. They hold history art, the core values of South Indian society. They tell a continuous story.
They really are testaments to human creativity, artistic expression that's been refined over generations. And there's this deep spiritual yearning that's woven into it all. It's that combination that makes them so compelling and such a perfect topic for our deep dive.
Absolutely. So
Okay.
as you go about your day, I'd encourage you to just think about the sheer scale of these temples, their longevity. Imagine all the human experiences that have unfolded within their walls over centuries. You know, the prayers, the festivals, the artistry. What does it tell us about our need for the sacred and the beautiful and how those two things are so intertwined? That's something to ponder.
What a thought-provoking way to wrap things up. Until next time, keep that curiosity burning.
Absolutely.
We'll see you in our next deep dive.
Looking forward to it.
Bye for now.